Hello, and welcome to my program called What's in Your Kitchen. The basic idea for this program is to give the user a modified recipe that they need because they don't have enough of one or more ingredients in the recipe. I want to start with the things that I hope to complete with this program. My criteria for success were the program will be formatted into a GUI. There will be a cookbook of about 4 to 5 recipes initially stored in the program in an array format. The user will be able to choose which recipe they want to make. Once the recipe is chosen, the program will prompt the user for the amount of each ingredient they have that is required for the recipe. Then the user will be able to input the amount of the ingredient they have, and once the user has inputted the quantities of the ingredients they have, the program will identify the limiting ingredient based off of the comparison to the recipe in the cookbook. Once the limiting ingredient is identified, the program will calculate the maximum amount of cookies that can be made with the limiting ingredient. Then the program will then modify the recipe in the cookbook to suit the number of cookies that they can actually make, that can actually be made. A new recipe will be outputted to the user, and the user will also be able to see the amount of cookies the recipe will yield. Finally, once the user is done with their modified recipe, they can restart the program and make another recipe if they would like. So I will show you how I completed all of my requirements for my program. We're just going to start with the Choose Your Cookie class that I have right here. I just wanted to show you what the basic GUI structure is. So this is just how it's set up. You can see here, I set the font, I set what the text is going to say, and then this is the actual constructor for the GUI. And then down here, it basically just says that once a button is clicked, it'll take you from this initial menu to a sub-menu that will be the recipe that you chose. I'm just going to show you how this works really quick. We'll continue with the program. This is the initial menu that you are going to be taken to when you choose to start the program. It's so the title is What's in Your Kitchen. Right now you can't see it fully because I'm recording this on a Mac, but you can see the full title when using a PC. So let's just select sugar cookies. So when I clicked on the button, it brought me to this new sub-menu. Again, the title is cut off, but that's just because this is the Mac version, and on the PC, you can see the full title. So what the user's supposed to do is they're supposed to input the quantities of the ingredients that they have. Right now, I'm just putting in one, just to show you. So after you input all of the quantities of the ingredients that you have, this other thing shows up, and I want you to pay attention to the bottom third of this. So this is what the program does, is it tells you the amount of cookies you will make, and it gives you the recipe. So I just want to show you the code for that to make it more clear how exactly it is done. This is just the construction of the GUI. I have these arrays right here, the cookbook array, the Your Kitchen array, and the actual yield array, which I have mentioned in my previous criterion. And, okay, so I want to take you to the important stuff. So this is saying once the flour button is clicked, it'll take you to flour input. Flour input asks you for how many cups of flour you have, and the guess is put into the Your Kitchen array. And then it goes through this conditional statement thing, which finds the yield of the flour. So that's the amount of cookies that the quantity of flour inputted will make. That yield is put into the actual yield array. And that happens for each ingredient. So I have one for each ingredient, as you can see. And each one goes in a different position in the actual yield array. Here we have the important stuff. So this is one of my complex, I suppose, my one of my complex methods. So this is called smallest yield, and that's exactly what it does. It finds the smallest yield. So it takes the actual yield array, and it finds the smallest yield. So that's the smallest number of cookies that are possible to make, and you want to find that because that's the whole point of the program, is to find the limiting ingredient and then to create a recipe that only uses the amount necessary of the limiting ingredient. So once the smallest yield is found, it is taken to recipe manipulation. Recipe manipulation basically takes the smallest yield found and multiplies it by the recipe in the cookbook array, and it gives you the final amounts that you will be using. So here we have the final recipe. So the number 6.0, that's the smallest yield. That's the number of cookies that the recipe will make. And then you have the quantity of each ingredient that you need. So cups of flour, cups of sugar, and so on and so forth. There are many ways that this program could have been expanded and improved upon. For example, there could be an option to either add or delete a recipe. So I have up here just a 2D array of the recipes that I added, but it could become part of the GUI program that there's an option to add a recipe to this array. And basically the user would just be inputting the quantities for each ingredient in that recipe. Another possibility for expansion would be saving the recipe, so what is right here, to a file so that the user could make it a reference for future use. And finally, the program could have been modified so that if the user had entered a character instead of a number when they were prompted, the program would tell them so, and they would have to re-enter the quantity. So all of these are very doable things, but due to my limit in time, I could not add these things. So these are possible expansions for other programmers, or for me if I want to take some more time on this program. But anyways, I hope you liked my video. I hope I explained it thoroughly, and I hope you like how my program works. Thank you very much.